Chapter 1491 of Hajime no Ippo dropped a ton of things to talk about. So many moments, phrases, metaphors, emotions. This review will cover the anti-Ricardo Martinez strategy, Sendo's words, and the conversation between Ippo and Miyata. Let's dive right in. The chapter picks up exactly where we left off. Ippo clinched Sendo, while the tiger tries to lift him, toss him, launch him into the air. The title of this chapter is clear: Immovable. We see Ippo holding on with all his strength, fully determined not to let go of the tiger. The panel zooms in on his foot, and we get this beautiful visual metaphor, his foot fusing with the mat like a tree growing roots. And I have to say, the way Morikawa drew Ippo rooting himself into the ring, it's just incredible. It looks spectacular. You can see how much effort went into that drawing. Now, Ippo is resisting with such determination because he's completely sure if he lets go, even for a second, he'll take a terrifying punch. A brutal, devastating, potentially knockout level punch. And that's why he simply can't let go. Sendo is shocked. Are his feet glued to the floor or something? I can't move him, he thinks. Is this supposed to be a sumo match? He wonders. He's trying with all his strength to lift Ippo, but Ippo keeps pressing harder and harder, to the point that Sendo starts trembling from the sheer effort of trying to move him, and he wonders, Ippo's smaller than me. So how the hell is this happening? What in the world is going on? We see again the metaphor of Ippo as a stone, an immovable object. We talked about that last week, and here it is again, reinforced. Then comes a line that has already become a classic ever since Ippo's retirement. Sendo thinks, or rather admits to himself, that Ippo is way stronger than when he was an active boxer. I'll admit it, this has become a meme in the community, but every time I read it, I still get hyped. Still, if this keeps going, it'll start to feel like a joke from the author, a little inside tease for those of us still hoping Ippo will return to the ring. Ippo momentarily steps away from Sendo and asks Miyata how much time has passed, whether the round they agreed on has already ended. We cut to Miyata looking at the stopwatch, and he says he lost count. He wasn't paying attention, too focused on watching Ippo. And what surprises me the most is that Ippo snaps at him. He doesn't call him idiot or fool or anything like that, but it's clear that it came straight from the heart, pure stress from the situation. Then Miyata tells Sendo that his phone has been ringing for a while. Sendo immediately gets down from the ring to check it, and when he sees who the call is from, he walks out right away. But not before telling Ippo and Miyata, "Don't forget to come tomorrow. I'm going to defeat the legend." Sendo leaves without another word. We then see Ippo, who already removed his gloves, but now has his wrist weights on. And it really makes me wonder, did he take off the weights for the sparring? Or was he wearing them the whole time? Personally, I think he took them off. You couldn't see them under the gloves, but maybe, just maybe, the gloves covered them. Still, let's be honest. It doesn't seem reasonable to think Ippo would have sparred with the weights on. Miyata keeps watching Ippo carefully. His hands are trembling, and Ippo tells him calmly, "Don't worry, I didn't take a clean hit. My arms just fell asleep from blocking so many punches." If he throws punches like that and actually lands them in a match, that 1 in 100 chance might become reality. Then Miyata says, "I got see something good." To which Ippo replies, "Something good? Do you mean seeing me get used as a human punching bag?" Miyata lowers his gaze and asks Ippo if he didn't notice, if he didn't realize it. That was his strategy. That was the anti-Ricardo strategy. And here's where I want to pause for a moment. What exactly is the anti-Ricardo strategy? That's the question we've all been asking ever since we read the chapter. And I have 3 possibilities. First, the most obvious one from the last scene, the strategy is exactly what Sendo did. Punch the opponent's guard over and over until their arms go numb. Disable them completely. It's similar to what Ippo did against Ryo Mashiba years ago, or what Ricardo Martinez did to Billy McCallum during a title defense. This theory is further supported by the rapid barrage of punches Sendo threw in the last chapter. That surprised me personally, since Sendo isn't known for throwing fast combinations. So if he's doing it to wear down his opponent's guard, it makes perfect sense. Second possible strategy, force a clinch. Make the world champion grab him to stop the attack. If this was the plan all along, it's really interesting, because it means Ippo fell right into the setup. And of course, with the strength Sendo has, he could probably do anything to Ricardo at that close range. Unlike with Ippo, who seems to have equal, or even greater, raw strength than the Tiger himself. And lastly, a lot of fans suggest that maybe the real strategy involves the feints Sendo used in the previous chapter. The feints that let him break through the guard. Honestly, I'm not fully convinced. I prefer either of the first two, or even a completely different one. If you've got your own theory, drop it in the comments. Back to the chapter. Ippo is genuinely shocked, and then we get a really interesting speech from Miyata, where he references the past fights that Date and Wally had against Ricardo Martinez. He explains how Date faced him with intelligence and heart, and how Wally cornered him with wild animal instinct, but Ricardo still won easily, even in moments when he looked concerned, even when he left himself open. Then Miyata drops what I think is the most important line in the whole chapter, maybe even the key to the entire match. He says Ricardo is such a strong champion that no one has ever seen his true self, his true nature, his core. Every challenger Ricardo has faced peeled back a single thin layer, then the next peeled back another, and another. Each challenger passes the baton with a little more information. Ippo says he hopes that the baton passed on by Date-san and Wally-kun reaches Sendo properly. Miyata finishes the thought with, whether Sendo is the final runner or not, we'll find out tomorrow. Then Miyata says Makunuchi. Undefeated doesn't mean invincible. That's the exact phrase Sendo's been saying ever since before his fight with Alfredo Gonzalez. It's legendary. Even Ricardo himself seemed moved by it at some point. And now, even Miyata is repeating it. He ends with, he might have never lost, but that doesn't make him scarier. Another bold statement. Ippo is left speechless. He starts staring at Miyata's strong profile. His chiseled jawline, his perfect nose, like it was sculpted. His body reacts. He starts to blush. A strange warmth rises. But when Ichiro walks in, Ippo blurts out, I agree. I think so too. Come on, Ippo. You're literally agreeing with everything Sendo has said, even though you've always treated him like he was nuts. Cut to the hospital. Sendo runs through the corridors, thinking of his grandmother. He tells himself she can't go yet. Not until he brings her the belt. Just wait a little longer. He enters the room. She's there with his former teacher. She has something to tell you, the teacher says. What is it? Sendo asks, anxious. His grandmother tells him she doesn't have much time left, that her hour is almost here. But before that, there's something she wants to see. Sendo starts yelling, cutting her off. I'm bringing you the belt. Tomorrow, I'll bring it right to your bedside. So she better not say something like that again, but his grandmother isn't interested in the belt. And honestly, that makes perfect sense. Sendo, wearing a face of worry we've never seen before, one that fills us with emotion and sadness, grabs her hand and asks, What is it? What do you want? Ask me for anything. She answers, While I'm still alive, I want to see the face of my great-grandchild. His worried face turns dead serious. He starts to get up, preparing to throw a punch. She's sick, says the teacher quickly, trying to stop him from doing something dumb. Sendo then says, Grandma, I don't think you're being reasonable. I don't even have a girlfriend. Just like a lot of people watching this video. Sendo is totally based. And then, his grandmother points at the teacher. Whoa, wait, hold up. Let's pause a second before we even go there. Sendo, annoyed, raises his hand again. She's perfect for you, says the grandma. You two are made for each other. The teacher blushes. Then Sendo shifts the topic completely. Maybe I should just bring you the belt instead. Technically, I already have a partner. Tomorrow, I have a date with a legend of the ring. Tomorrow, the man you raised will come back to this hospital as the world champion. Just wait. We then see his grandma fall asleep. For now, she seems okay. The woman beside him says, "For now your grandmother will wait until you return." Sendo, full of fire, full of determination, is shown in a panel that gives me chills. The man you raised will return as the world champion. There will be another chapter, but not next week. It's Golden Week in Japan. The magazine won't publish, so there won't be manga. But on May 7th, the next chapter drops. That's confirmed. And one final thing I left for the end. This relationship between Sendo and his teacher, I still think it's kind of sketchy. I mean, she was his teacher, but she's also amazing. I love her. And the fact she's an alcoholic, that makes her a 10 out of 10. Okay, sorry. I went too far. But seriously, it's weird. She's older. She's been married. She's gone through alcoholism. She was even harassed by her ex-husband. We saw all that in the manga years ago. But after the perfect setup by Grandma, like a world-class midfielder with a flawless assist, I think this relationship is happening. And the fact that Grandma asked for a great-grandchild, that basically confirms Sendo will survive. And probably, he's going to be a dad. That final panel makes me feel like Sendo's odds of winning just went up. Not by much, but a little. If I thought he had a 10% chance before, now I'd say it's 20%. What do you think? Obviously, I'm not saying he'll win for sure, but every chapter makes it feel just a little bit more possible. Maybe I'm rambling, maybe I'm losing it, but that's how I feel, honestly. And last, 2 closing thoughts. Things I probably should have said earlier in the video. That scene with Ippo's feet gripping the ring. It reminds me of how Takamura used his toes to pivot on a single foot and land a massive hit. That was against Richard Bison ages ago. And I really love how the theme of passing the baton, passing the torch, is coming back again. It's deep. It's beautiful. Honestly, I could make an entire video just about that idea. Let me know in the comments if you'd be into that. And don't forget to subscribe for more. Good night.